to rescue the Apache twins from a forced union. The indigent rancher offered his name. No one in the territory ever anticipated a man as indigent as Eli Mercer to challenge a formidable Apache leader. Yet destiny had a way of drawing even the most reserved souls into tempests not of their own making. Eli had spent most of his days alone on a run-down ranch, toiling from dawn till dusk just to keep the land from overtaking him. But he still held a code of honor that refused to break, even when hardship pressed him to the dirt. His troubles started the afternoon he came upon the injured deserter slumped by the old creek bed, a fellow too scared to speak, clutching a ripped buckskin pouch. Before Eli could draw out more from him, a band of Apache riders crested the ridge, headed by Chief Taza, a presence that chilled even the toughest gunslingers. Taza demanded the return of what the deserter carried. Eli, straightforward by nature, simply handed over the pouch. But inside were two small carved tokens. Tokens, Taza claimed, that stood for a betrothal pact between the tribe and the deserter, an exchange that included the chief's twin daughters. Eli had unwittingly become a witness to something risky, and the chief had no patience for witnesses. The next morning, Eli rode toward town, only to stumble into a charged scene on the open plains. The twins, Naya and Sani, made to kneel before the deserter as Chief Taza announced that the pact would hold. The deserter shook, voiceless, clearly desperate to bolt, but too fearful to cross the chief. Eli caught in the girl's eyes a silent call for rescue. Their faces showed no panic or revolt, but a quiet yielding, the sort that breaks a good man inside. They were just past 18, dressed in traditional fringed buckskin, hair woven with beads, shins raised in reluctant submission. Taza sat his horse like a judge passing sentence, declaring that the tribe would keep its word and the deserter would take the girls. Eli moved ahead without a second thought. His boots settled a bit into the sand as he neared, his breath even, but his heart hammering so hard he worried the chief might hear it. Taza's eyes turned to him, piercing and measuring. "You step in unbidden, rancher," the chief said, voice low. Eli stood his ground. "Those girls don't want this," he replied. "A man can see it clear as day." Murmurs stirred among the Apache riders. Taza raised a hand for hush. "The pact stands," the chief growled. "My daughters need a protector, and this man sealed the deal." Eli eyed the shivering deserter and saw a soul who wanted no part of them, someone aching only to run. "A protector?" Eli echoed. "Then let me suggest something stronger." Taza looked down at him, still as stone. Eli swallowed deep, knowing once the words left his mouth, there'd be no pulling back. "Take my name instead." A ripple of shock went through the group. Even the twins looked up, eyes going wide in surprise. The deserter edged back in relief, ready to vanish, but Taza leaned in, eyeing Eli like the rancher had laid bare a piece of his spirit. "You," the chief said, measured, "have nothing. No land worth a mention, no cattle, no silver." "Maybe," Eli allowed, "but I've got a name that's clean. I'll keep them safe, That's my vow." The twins shared a glance. Naya's face lit with a spark of hope, while Sani's hands shook just a touch, though she fought to steady them. They hadn't said a word, but their eyes spoke pages. Taza swung down and approached Eli with careful steps. The Apache riders went alert, hands hovering near weapons. Eli didn't budge. The chief stopped close, inches away, and set a hand on his shoulder. A name means something only if the man carrying it has strength, Eli finished, soft. Then let me show it. Taza's hold tightened. To take on my daughters means you put your life ahead of theirs against every danger. You owe them your loyalty first. You won't leave them behind. Eli nodded. I won't. Taza's hard features eased just a hair to show a father's hidden fret. His daughters had been chips in a bargain he no longer trusted, but felt tied to uphold. Eli's offer broke that chain. If you fail, Taza warned, I'll take your life with my own hand. Eli met the chief's gaze. Fair enough. Silence fell heavy and complete before the chief spoke at last. Their lives are yours now. May your grit outlast your broke ways. The tension broke. The Apache riders loosened up. Naya let out a shaky breath, and Sani pressed a hand to her chest, flooded but steady. Eli stepped back, not sure what he'd set in motion, but knowing it was right. He didn't want a wife, let alone two, but he couldn't stand by while purity got sold off like stock. Taza climbed back on his horse and turned to his daughters. Go with him, he ordered. And just like that, Eli Mercer, the fella who could hardly claim a solid roof, found himself in charge of two Apache sisters whose futures rested square on his knack for standing guard between them and the world. Eli hadn't figured on hauling the twins home that day, but there they were, riding quiet behind him as he nudged his worn-out horse back to the ranch. He was barely holding up himself. The little place looked too rickety to house three, much less build fresh lives on. The twins took it in without a word of scorn, their faces hard to read but pensive, and Eli felt a queer tightness in his chest. Not embarrassment, but a pull to make the spot fit for them. Naya stepped up first, running a hand along the wood frame like she was testing its bones. Sani came after, her eyes ranging over the ground in calm study. Neither grumbled, shed tears, nor questioned his move. Instead, they took their new path with a steady grit that rattled Eli deeper than any fit of anger could. Inside, Eli laid out some spare blankets and cleared a spot. Clueless on what a man does in a fix no one in town would swallow, he figured the girls would stay standoffish, unsure of him, maybe even spooked. But no, they sat across and made proper introductions. Naya spoke with even poise, saying she held duty and straight talk dear. Sani's tone was milder, letting on she watched more than she spoke out. Their frankness came without grudge or sourness. Eli saw they weren't weak. They were just caught in ways bigger than their own wishes. In the days that followed, the three fell into a pattern. Naya showed a gift with stock, settling jumpy horses with a low word, while Sani tackled jobs with care, fixing gear and making simple things that chased the emptiness from the place. In turn, Eli passed on ranch tasks, tools, and ways to last they'd never had to learn. He waited for clashes, but got teamwork. He waited for quiet walls, but got real talk. Without meaning to, the three built a slim connection, rooted not in sparks, but in getting by and regard. But the land didn't take kindly to new turns. News flew quick. Eli Mercer had taken Chief Taza's daughters under his name. Some ranchers called him Simple. Others said he was covering some shady deal. A handful muttered the girls belonged back with their own. Eli brushed it off, but the storm rolled in anyway. One evening, as he fixed the corral fence, a crew of armed riders closed in, faces masked by bandanas. They weren't Apaches or locals, just drifters chasing a quick score off the mess. "Turn over the girls," the head one snapped. "We know the tribe bought 'em once. Someone else will pay up too." Eli planted himself between them and the house, shotgun ready, sweat burning his eyes. He thought the twins would duck out of sight, but there they stood at his back, straight and bold, like they were set to meet the threat right with him. Naya's jaw locked tight, and Sonny clutched a stout stick like she'd swung one in her time. That steadied Eli's nerve. "Ain't nobody taking them," he said, voice like iron. The leader grinned crooked. "A broke rancher guarding 2 fine catches. You'll drop for zilch." "They're no catches," Eli shot back. "They're under my name, and that counts for plenty." The face-off hummed with edge. One rider twitched uneasy. Another clawed for his pistol. Before it blew, a shrill whistle split the air. Out of the ridge shadows rode another bunch, the Apache warriors, with Chief Taza at the front. The raiders went stone still. Taza came on, face like carved rock. "You threaten my daughters," he said. "You threaten the man who staked his life to shield them." Quick as that, the raiders scattered into the dark, kicking up dust and shame. Taza got down and looked at Eli with eyes that weren't cold or far off, more like a nod he couldn't quite hide. "I came to check if you held to your word," the chief said. "You did." Eli eased down his shotgun. "They're safe. That's what counts." Taza faced his daughters. "You been handled right?" Naya spoke up strong. "Better than the road you set for us." Sonny dipped her head. "We're not things to own, Father. He sees us as folks." The chief took in their say, his tough shell cracking for a beat. "If you pick to stay under this man's name, the tribe stands by it." Eli blinked, caught off guard. "They pick." Taza agreed. "A name given free beats any swap." The twins eyed each other, then Eli. Naya moved closer. "We stay," she said flat. Sandy's words came like a gentle trail. "This is home now." Right then, Eli knew the tie they'd made had turned solid as rock. A fight held in common, a risk shared, a way through together. Chief Taza put a hand on Eli's shoulder. "Then you're kin to us now, and you won't face the wind alone." As the Apache warriors headed out and the stars rose over the spread, Eli saw his days had shifted for good. He'd walked into the fire with no eye on payback, but claimed something bigger than his wildest thoughts. loyalty, direction, and the faith of two young women whose roads had knotted with his. The world kept its mutters, its side eyes, its doubts. But inside that plain ranch, three hearts had picked each other, not by push, not by deal, but by a promise that held through every hit it took. And for the first time in years, Eli Mercer felt truly wealthy.